This is our project on how fiction tells the truth about human rights. I'm Jack.
And I'm Tony, and the books we chose were Persepolis and The Orphan Master's Son.
For this project, we will be discussing what aspects of fiction writing make it so effective at conveying civil rights issues in other countries. With the approachability, inside perspective, and connections with the characters, the reader learns about issues in much more depth. Giving a full story with plenty of plot not relating to the civil rights issues of the country brings the reader information in a subtler way and is much more effective than simply stating a fact, such as during the 1990s, a famine in North Korea killed between 600,000 and 1 million people, about 3 to 5% of the population. Or a second quote that we found from CNN, which gives you numbers but no actual story about the hardships and struggles of those living in North Korea at the time of the event.
Just like in this image, there are two paths one can follow when learning about human rights violations. You can read horrible facts and look at gruesome photos of human rights violations, or you can be happily introduced to a story that you later find out is intertwined with these violations. Because novels are so approachable, the message laid out in the storyline reaches an audience that may have been turned off by a news article with brutal imagery. The first quote we have is from the introduction of Persepolis. Rather than talking about all the government control and deaths in the last couple of decades in Iran, the introduction paints a picture of westernization and wealth in Iran. Our second quote is from the beginning of Orphan Master's Son, and it presents a scene of Kim Jong-il giving advice on a beautiful day with doves flocking above his head. Here we are introduced to the plot of the novel rather than the human rights violations occurring in North Korea. Just like the introduction of Persepolis, it piques our interest but does not scare us from continuing to read. Now compare these two situations to the photo in the upper right corner. For some, they may not want to continue to watch, fearing that images of destruction and dead Iranians may follow.
At the beginning of each story, we are introduced to the main characters, Pak Jun-do and Marjane Satrapi. We are given some backstory from both of them and begin to get to know both as characters. Since we are living through the eyes of a citizen going through these struggles, we are able to learn not only the issues that plague the country, but also an average citizen, whose story and feelings usually go undocumented, reacts and copes with these hardships. For that reason, a fiction novel provides much more to the reader in terms of actually understanding the gravity of these devastating situations. In Persepolis, we see Margie's reactions to a multitude of issues throughout the book. The strictness of dress code and the harshness of the torture they go through at school seems challenging, but in the picture on the left, we can see Margie and her friends poking fun at this strictness and being able to laugh about it despite its severity. On the right, we experience firsthand, not through a headline stating the number of casualties, how the deaths from the bombings affect those around the victims. The pain you can imagine Margie feels impacts the reader far more than just hearing about how many people were killed. In Orphan Master's Son, when Jun-do accidentally kills the woman he is attempting to abduct, you can see that he is actually hurt over what he did. It was not ruthless in any way. He is just doing his job and genuinely feels bad about what he just did.
Throughout the storyline, we follow a character through all of their trials and tribulations, and through all of their growth. We learn almost everything about this character. We connect with this character because we feel as though we have been through all the same experiences. In some novels, such as the two we have chosen, you can find small similarities between yourself and the character. Because of this, all the emotions that he or she feels are now understandable and relatable. In Orphan Master's Son, we learn that even with all that goes on in his life, Jun-do has time to fantasize about love. This is very, very relatable for any teen, and it shows us a glimpse of who he is as a person. The image on the right of the slide is a photo of Margie trying to sleep through her alarm and refusing to wake up for school. Sound familiar to anyone? Little things like this help us as readers connect to the lives of the characters. This connection is what hammers home the severity of the human rights issues occurring around the character.
For these reasons, fiction novels more effectively convey the issues of these countries. Since we get to actually feel what the characters feel when confronted with events such as the bombing in Iran or the disappearances in North Korea, we are impacted much more heavily. Fiction novels are the most effective way of allowing others to understand and connect to issues going on across the world. Being put into their world, the occurrences of the story affect this reader significantly. What means more to you emotionally? Hearing about the deaths of 5 people in an Iran bombing, or having Margie sprint to the basement because her innocent neighborhood is being bombed, and then to hear about the deaths of those around her? How about hearing how they don't have much freedom in North Korea, or seeing Pak Jun-do be shuttled from job to job without anyone ever asking him what he actually wants to do himself? For this reason, fiction is able to tell the real truth about human rights.